Now we're live.
We're live. You ready?
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's try to be less abrasive on this intro. I will take my normal backseat position.
All right. Here goes. Performance on Demand podcast number 38 is
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Performance on Demand podcast with Craig and Jeremy, where you will learn all things endurance sports from training and nutrition to mental strength. Everything you need and want to know in one place.
Welcome everyone to the Performance on Demand podcast. I am your host, Craig Willard. And today we don't actually have just kidding.
I tried to be quiet. You asked me to be quiet. I tried to be quiet.
Oh, what's up, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Can't complain at all. Here we are.
Good, because
Performance on
nobody
Demand.
would listen and nobody would really give a shit.
I know. And we continue to add to this. So no one listens, and we create podcasts, and we're now creating video feeds
No one
of
watches.
our podcast that are going to be on YouTube's Performance on Demand page, which you should go to and subscribe to, so you see all the behind the scenes stupid stuff that Jeremy and I usually do that we giggle about randomly that no one understands why we are doing it. You'll actually be able to see it. But no, really, for those fans that are listening, we greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Fans.
We got fans of the show, man. I don't know why anybody want to listen to us, but we got fans.
Oh, we got fans. All 6 of them.
I know. Unfortunately, this one was so early, my mom couldn't attend, so I don't know. We may have 3 or 4 people. We are doing this midday. It's Christmas time.
Beginning to look a lot
like Christmas.
However, we just celebrated our Christmas yesterday with, or this weekend with all of our kids, and so I took my kids back yesterday. The normal 2-hour and 10-minute drive, and I get a text along the way: Christmas tree is down. So Christmas tree down, stockings are gone, and it's like, fuck, new day.
Okay, what happened?
Nothing. She took it down. We did our Christmas.
Okay. I thought maybe it had fallen over. You're saying gone.
Yeah,
like you're going to come home and there's no more Christmas left.
No, and it kind of sucks because I was going to do the Elf on a Shelf thing, and the last day of it was going to be, I was going to actually like lay the Christmas tree over because it's a live tree and just like wreck shop on it and make it look like the elf did it. But she took the tree down, so I was like, well, shit, now I got to do something else. So
well, here you are. You used to do a lot of fishing, and you did your little tours and whatnot. Are you going to take that tree to the lake and drop it in the lake somewhere? You know, that's what they're calling for up here. They're telling everybody to throw them in the lake so the fish have a place to.
Yeah, man, you put that sucker in a 5-gallon bucket with a bag of Quikrete. It's game on. That's it. Yeah, that's a nice brush top. But I actually thought about, we've got a couple of small lakes around here. I thought, you ought to take it out there and sink it. And I still may. We still have it outside. It has yet to disappear. So for $5, I could create some cool fishing habitat. I may do that.
You should give back, Jeremy. You know that's what life's all about, right?
I should, absolutely. I'm horrible at that, let me tell you.
All right.
So what about you?
Man, we're getting ready for Christmas. We haven't done any of it. So I still have Christmas gifts to buy. Here it is. We're on Monday, and I still have gifts to buy.
You're a guy. It's okay.
Yeah, sometimes I just wait. And Amazon's, Amazon is so good for us. Here I am plugging them, and they haven't paid me a penny. But Amazon's great for that type of stuff. I can go find what I want, and I have it delivered. It's really quick. I can get it home, and I can just box. I just package up the package.
The box.
Yes. The box. You just let it go. So it's really nice. But Christmas is here, so I think it's supposed to be like 70 or something, 65 or 70.
It's supposed to be 80 here.
It's ridiculous.
We're actually going down to Galveston to the beach and going to have a nice dinner Christmas night, but it's like we're going to walk on the beach Christmas Day, and it's going to be 80 freaking degrees.
Isn't that crazy? So it's crazy.
Hey, I'm game with global warming.
Fine with me. Maybe I should go back into my sports car and get rid of my truck since there's not going to be any snow. As soon as I do, though, you know what'll happen. It'll snow.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So today's topic.
It's a big one.
It is a big one. You know, it's what is it that's keeping you from being your best? I'm going to say that is like there's two or one specific thing, but this is one of the things, this group of things in which can absolutely affect what you do and your ability to perform at its best.
Yeah, and the thing is that I think the beauty of it and the burden of it is that people don't realize that it's actually can be very simple things. If we'll get into it here shortly, I'm sure, but if we continue to get to a position where we think we underperformed or we failed, we'll use air quotes on that one.
Right.
If we get to that position, we're like, how the hell did that happen? I think I did everything, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes it's just a very small thing. It's not this huge astronomical thing. Right. Not all the time. Sometimes it is. And sometimes it's outside of our control, but it's can be very simple. And I think it all starts with, like we talk about all the time, is the mind, the mindset type of thing. So
no, I totally agree. So the two focuses that we're going to talk about in this podcast is your definition of success and your definition of failure, because between the two of them could completely impact the way that you perform, you train, because if you create certain levels of expectations for successes that are not, in alignment with how the mind thinks, you can start to develop anxieties. You can develop, if you didn't succeed, then obviously you assume that you failed. And if you failed, then you might get some depressive thoughts and sad thoughts and lose motivation and desire, drive, and all those other things. So I think that's, to me, we can break this up into two segments, but what is your definition of success? And we'll help you understand what we feel it is. And then you can take that into account and adjust your thoughts however you feel it's important. But we'll go with the level of success. What is that to you? And then what it can do to affect you. And then on the other side of that, we'll talk about failure and what it can do to you, whether, one way or the other.
Yeah, those are, I like the way that we're going to break it up, because it is something that we all deal with, whether it's athletically, whether it's personal life, whether it's relationships. We all deal with that. I think everybody deals with the anxiety because of a fear of failing or succeeding. And so I think to itemize them out and say, hey, this is why we believe this. Now, is this the only way to look at it? No, this is our way. And we see a lot eye to eye on this topic specifically, along with the other things. But I think that sometimes, more often than not, we get in our own way of success, trying to prevent a failure, right? That's my take on it, just initially kind of spitballing.
No, I totally agree with that. And if I were to ask you, coming from an athlete's perspective, what do you see? If I were to say, what is one of your athletes' beliefs on success? What might you say theirs would be? And it could be random. Just curious.
Yeah, a lot of times it is based on a number, whether it is a power output, whether it is a time, whether it is total distance covered, like before the race. There's some athletes that, in order to be able to succeed at an event, they have to be able to have done that distance prior to the event. Okay. More specifically, swimming. Running, people are kind of okay with. Cycling, nobody really honestly gets too hung up on riding the distance or not. It's usually swimming that it's like, okay, if I want to do a half Ironman next year, I have to be able to swim 1900 nonstop. That's their definition. In order to be able to succeed at my goal, I have to be able to do that. And so I think that it goes back to the analytical side of things, and whether it's, like I said, a time, a power output, a certain number dictates whether or not they were successful.
So what you're saying is basically people tie successes to outcomes.
Yes.
So if we go back to our goal setting podcast, I can't remember which one that was, but if we go back to that goal setting podcast, we talk about three different things. We talk about goal setting in regards to process, performance, and outcomes. And the reality is all of your outcomes come through your process work. As Correct. You improve your processes, you improve your performance, which when you improve your performance, potentially have the opportunity to massively improve your outcome. But if, for example, we say success, so we say, this maybe, you're going to do a certain split on your swims, so to speak, or whatever it may be. So you're going to do that. And in doing so, what you find is that if there's any part of you, you're tired, you're worn out, you didn't eat well, you didn't sleep well, whatever it may be over a couple days, your outcome might not be what you expected it to be. And so
Correct.
therefore you didn't succeed. So the question is if you do not succeed, do you fail?
Right. And this is a way of thinking that honestly, when we first started this about a year ago, you brought up the idea of failure isn't a real thing.
Right.
And at first I was like, bullshit. Like everybody fails at some point in life, right? And that was my first mentality. And I think that's a lot of people's mentality is if you don't succeed, then you fail. Like it's either one or the other. And you've taught me a lot along the way as an athlete, as a coach, as a person, that, that the only way to fail is to quit.
Right.
Right. Now, if I have a lofty goal, let's just say going to Ironman Texas this year, my goal is to go 12 hours. And I go 12 hours and 1 minute and 10 seconds. Did I fail? No chance in hell. If I go 13 and a half hours, did I fail? No. If I stop and step off that course, did I fail? I believe so. Pending, barring an injury or something like that, that's unforeseen, but to mentally break down and quit. And we talked about this a while back, or I think last podcast, I did that half marathon a couple weeks ago and I paced it horribly. I ran the first 10K like I had good fitness and I struggled through the last 10K. It reminded me I didn't. And at mile 9, like I said before, I found a whole bucket of quit just sitting on the trail. And I could have picked it up and been done. And I wanted to. But then it clicked with me that the only time that I can truly fail is to quit, because I would have shorted myself 3 or 4 miles of training, which goes to the process goal, right?
Sure.
Because I know the bigger picture is Ironman Texas. And so if I would have quit, I would have shorted myself 3 miles. Well, you short yourself 3 miles every single week, and you've got, say, 20 weeks. That's 60 miles. That's 1 week, actually probably a week and a half to 2 weeks for most athletes of running that you've given up. So to me, that would be where the failure would come from.
Absolutely.
So I got to put a little tangent there, but that's
not only that though, if you chose to quit, your process is almost turned into, I'll just quit I'll just stop.
When the going gets tough,
you just stop. And if you do it once, it's almost like being disrespectful to people. It's really, when you draw a line, you say, I'm never going to be disrespectful to someone. But that moment that you walk up to the line and you just go, oh, I just want to say something to you so mean right now, and you do it. Once you cross that line, it is so much easier to do it again. It's almost like a bit of unknown territory. But when you just, if you just pull up close to it and you go, you know what, I really would like to quit right now, I'm so tired. Don't. Even if you have to walk it, whatever, go finish it just to validate to yourself too that you did. But I'm going to bring this up. We always talk about definitions. So here's a couple definitions.
Now, hang on, let's back up. I used to bring up these definitions, and you made fun of me for bringing up the definitions. And now this is a tactic.
Well, I think it's a great idea. I'm learning. You're teaching me.
Yeah.
Hey, what do
Sit down. You got a lot to learn, Grasshopper.
Hey, that's why my book is full. It's full. All right. So for success, I think this is important: the accomplishment of an aim or purpose, the attainment of popularity or profit. And then this big one, which to me is big, a person or thing that achieves desired aims or attains prosperity. So for me, it's two things: the accomplishment of an aim or purpose, and as it says here, is the one that has achieved a desired aim. So the question is, for people that are listening to this podcast, the recognition that success is tied upon hitting a target. And so if you think back to our podcast where we were talking about goal setting, what I normally use is to say, look, let's say you're at a shooting target, you're shooting targets, you've got a rifle, and you're sitting down and you're aimed at a target and you go to shoot at it. And when you shoot at it, you miss. Well, you just failed. Right? But no, not really. You didn't really fail because you didn't quit. You missed. So what do you do when you miss? What does that tell you? You learn so much more by what you don't do than why you oftentimes do. If you were just automatically go up there and shoot it and hit it, you're like, oh man, I must be great. I don't need to worry about this anymore. I'm done. I'm good. I'm out. Right. But if you miss, you just change, adjust, breathe, shoot. Yeah. And so your success comes when you achieve something. It basically waits for you until you achieve it. It doesn't go away.
I like that. I really like that. That's a great way to put it. Success waits for you until you achieve it. And
Yes.
more often than not, as humans, we don't achieve it on the first try.
Yep.
That is an opportunity.
Well, if we don't succeed, then we fail. And I don't even say, I don't even say if exceed, they say if first you don't succeed, try again. And it's not about trying. It's, to me, because I don't really like that word very much. It's non-committal, but in the sense, what you need to do is readjust. Okay, that didn't work. So what am I doing that is holding me back from missing this? And maybe, just maybe, it's your definition of success.
Well,
go ahead. No, go.
I was just going to say, in the endurance sports world, that readjusting aim may be a coaching change. It may be a recommitment to the process. It may be modifying your goals. Maybe your goal setting wasn't the way that it should have been. Maybe it's expanding to doing some group training. Maybe it's finding a way to better balance your life so that you can work in the training and you remove that ability to have a lot of excuses. And so just like the target analogy, readjusting, your target can be the same. You're going to be shooting toward the same thing. You just have to make a modification to make it more accurate and more precise. Right. I mean, I love the target analogy. That was solid.
Well, I mean, think about driving down the road. Even when it's straight, it's not straight. So when you're driving and you're going down the road and
texting,
and you're texting, and then you crash. No, but you're driving down the road and the road's straight, but all of a sudden you got to make a little adjustment. Just pull it back in. And a little bit adjustments. If you were to drive and pour concrete into your steering wheel and set it straight, it's going to need an adjustment.
It's funny you say that, because yesterday I was driving down the road in a perceived straight area. I'm dead serious. Yeah. And because I just got in alignment last week, and I noticed that my wheel was turned a little bit, and I thought, man, that's not right. My alignment, they must have jacked something up. And then I started paying attention to where I was going, and it wasn't as straight as I thought it was. Mm-hmm. So to me, that's a really cool analogy. And you're absolutely right. There's always micro adjustments that go on.
Yeah. But we don't think so. We think it's concrete. It's right. You do this, you do X, Y, and Z, and that's what I'm going to get. And if I don't get that, that means, and I've done everything to my best ability, that means I got to get that. And if I don't, I suck as a person. Right. And that's not okay. Because the opposite effect to you. It's going to mess with your mind, and you're going to focus on the failing piece of it instead of the opportunity. Again, if you don't succeed at first, adjust and go back at it again. The day you give up, that's the day you failed. And you didn't fail anyone else. And it's not about your mom, your brothers, your sisters, your wife, your husband. You failed you. You allowed yourself to give up. And, Jeremy and I were talking about earlier before this show, I was doing some research on the brain and how much calories it burns. And does it burn more when you think a lot or you're stressed or whatever? But basically, one of the hypotheses from this researcher was that the brain's kind of lazy, and the brain really doesn't want to do a lot. And so when you focus for a period of time and then you get tired and worn out, oftentimes it's because your brain doesn't want to. And so he basically says your brain's a lazy bum, and that you're almost constantly fighting against that.
Right.
But what you do is you create habits, and when you create those habits, then those things become easier and easier. But by default, your brain just wants to go, I just want to be lethargic. I just want to sit here. I don't want to do anything.
Just let me chill, bro. Just let me chill.
Give me some donuts. I want some donuts.
Oh, I like donuts.
Some jelly-filled donuts.
It's so funny because I watched our little recap video of the last one. I laughed.
I don't know why. You and I probably watched it a million times within us. Now, how many people have ever read it?
I showed it to Kendall, and she kind of giggled a little bit. And I'm like,
they don't get it.
That's freaking hilarious. But it's like, yeah, we're way off.
Yeah, we're so far out there about what's funny.
So let me ask you a question, because this is something I've struggled with as an athlete, and you can kind of critique me on this, and something that athletes I've worked with have struggled with. And it's, let's say let's say I want to go 11 hours at Ironman Texas. And I brought this kind of analogy a minute ago. And let's say, I want to go to Ironman Boulder and I want to qualify for Kona. That is my goal for 2016. And I go to Ironman Boulder. I have the race of my life. I PR the race, but I do not qualify for Kona. Did I then fail?
Hell no.
Okay.
You don't fail.
So let's help me teach people how we can see that as an opportunity, kind of like the reacquiring thing. But I think the issue is is that it's so heavily weighted going into the year, that outcome. Now the athlete has moved into the focusing on the process, and the process will lead it there. However, in 6 months before, 8 months before the race comes up, there's a lot of things that can come up and knock the shit out of that process and move it off target.
Right.
How do, in 4 months, that athlete is struggling, how would you talk to them and help them bring them back around so they don't anticipate failure because of whatever has come along?
Well, one of the things is that you make sure that it's not – I think you can run into trouble when you put a specific outcome to a very specific race. I'm thinking about this a lot differently. And I'm thinking about this without money involved, because I know this sport is very, very expensive. But if it were me, I would align. If my intention, my real goal is to go to Kona, then my process and performance work should be based on getting to the speed necessary to be able to accomplish that goal. And then what I would do is I would align the full year's worth to give me the opportunity every time.
Okay.
Why would I want to wait till October or Louisville or something like that to try to qualify for something? Why can't I just go ahead and do it? Right. Because the thing is that it may be the race that you think is going to have, because you and I have had this conversation as a coach, you want to put your athlete in the best place, the best position. So, you're looking at whatever else's race is going on. Do the pros go here? Or, do our fast age groupers go to this race? Well, they don't. So I'm going to go over to this race. If I go over to this race, there's not going to be as much competition.
Right.
You might just qualify.
Right.
But are you fast enough to really make that difference? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I say that it's just a different perspective, and it has nothing to do with coaching. It's just more about be prepared to go fast. If you want Kona, this isn't a completing situation. This is a competing situation. Right. And every single day, you better be aligning yourself every day. There's no, we talk about bodybuilders. We talk about cheat meals. Oh, today I get to do a cheat meal. That's great. But guess what? The person you're competing with, they're not cheating.
Right.
They're not cheating. And I understand that people say, well, that helps you keep from plateaus. You want to be competitive. You got to do things that everyone else isn't doing.
Right.
But so what, if it were me, I would say, let's talk to your coach and say, hey, let's plan 2 or 3 and let's try to hit the first one. And so that we go, okay, we didn't make this one. We did not get where we needed to. Let's realign. Let's readjust. Let's see where we have some opportunities. Hey, we noticed that, your heart rates or, something was going on. And so let's up your bike. Let's pull back on your run, because your run's really good. Let's pull back here on your bike and let's pump up, the extra that you're going to need for your swim, whatever. Right. Let's adjust. And then let's hit the next one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It really does. And so it brings me up to another thought. And I want to pose this question. I guess I'm kind of firing questions at you, because I am at the moment, I am very much an athlete. I am, sure. I've re-energized. I'm back in the game, essentially. I didn't race. I didn't line up and race last year. And I've struggled, the past couple of weeks with obviously the holidays. And I can make excuses for days. But and the reason I'm asking these questions is from an athlete perspective. So how can we help people to take the word failure and make that word opportunity? Because I think that if we get there, and let's say I go there to Texas and I go 11:55, okay, that should be viewed as an opportunity, because then I get to readjust, not as a failure. And I think it's human nature that if not X, then Y. So if not X being success, then Y is failure. Right. The more I talk to you, the more I think through this, the more I believe there's kind of a middle ground there of opportunity.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, you didn't hit this X, but it's not Y. You kept going. You finished it. You didn't have the day you wanted to have. but it's an opportunity, not a failure. So again, I'm just kind of making up shit as I go, but it's starting to click with me on got to find a way to change the word failure to opportunity. Because I think if you see that opportunity, you can then seize it with the knowledge you have making that attempt.
The power is in success versus opportunity.
Okay.
I mean, really, it's not, and I just take that from what you just said. It's not about the failure, unless you just want to quit. But if you're talking, especially if you're talking about Kona or whatever else it is, or even in a completing perspective, you can't fail unless you stop. So if you, and this is something that it goes against the grain. I mean, I have had debates with people. They're like, no, you fail all the time. And you've got these big people. You even have Tony Robbins, who I absolutely love. I love listening to Tony. Les Brown. And you talk about all these failures. You can fail, but you can succeed from it. And to me, and the reason that I don't like failure is because it has such a strong emotional negative vibe to it. When you hear failure, that almost chimes into when you're a kid.
Right.
And somebody said, you suck, you are a piece of crap, you're a failure, you can't do anything right. And that just stirs up a whole lot of other emotions. Why do you have to put that negativity in your life? Why not just go, hey, I didn't get where I wanted to be, but you know what? I got the rest of the day. I got the rest of the day. So if it's success, and the thing about too is people don't recognize when they create a goal and they meet it, and we've talked about this in a couple of podcasts, when we create a goal and we meet it, we must be prepared for the other side of that goal. We must be prepared for that success, because when you come down off the success and you hit that stone wall at the bottom,
rock bottom,
and you feel lost and you feel like you're missing something, especially when you don't have a plan and your coach says, take the next 6 weeks off. You're like, wait, what? I'm an athlete. This is what I do. How are you going to take this from me? So, the success piece, on the backside of that, and that's another podcast we can talk about. But, there's just, it requires a rewiring, because people take that word failure to be so powerful. So why not just remove it?
And you said that, and I was thinking about it a minute ago too. In the business world, there's the saying of make sure you fail fast.
Right.
You want to essentially, and what that means is you basically want to, you're going to screw up. Like, it's inevitable. You're going to learn things. You're going to grow. You're going to develop. But it's how you bounce back from that. You want to do it and get it out of the way soon, so you can learn and grow and so on and so forth.
Right.
And so, another thing, and maybe this is for another podcast, is, do you feel more people? So if you've got, let's say you got 100 people in a group, you give them all the same task. Out of that 100 people, how many people are anticipating a failure, and how many people anticipate success?
Yeah.
Because I feel like more people anticipate not succeeding than do. And so when they do succeed, it surprises them, and they're like, oh shit, now what?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of that comes from confidence too. So if you're not confident in understanding, self-affirmations and other things mentally that you can do to ensure that you have, you obviously don't want to go to the super ego-ish, perspective of, I'm much better or much faster than I ever, that I feel like I'm X, Y, and Z better than that person. That person's just a belief. It's more about, let's be honest and open and honest and understand where we are in life, and understand that I have the ability. If people could just ingrain in their minds, I have the ability to do anything I want, as long as I'm willing to put forth the effort to get what it is that I want. And if you think of it that way, then, this test that you're getting ready to take, be prepared for it. And that's the thing, what I think most people do not always give everything to, is preparation. You get anxiety from a test. It's possible that you probably didn't put as much into it as you should have.
Right.
And you probably know that. And in doing so, you got a little anxiety about it. You're a little worried about it. You're nervous because you don't feel like you're as prepared as you should be. On the other side of that, people are overly concerned, and they prepare very, very well, but they still don't believe it. And that's more of a confidence level where, hey, you need to be more confident. And how do you do that is that you test yourself, or have friends help you, or confidence in running and training is your response, your results. Your coach throwing you a little note in Training Peak saying, "Hey, this was a phenomenal day. Great job. Keep up the effort. Keep up the effort." Yeah. And so they start to see those. It's so hard in our current life to realize where we are and where we've been. It's hard to recognize somebody's lost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say I'm what I am today, and they feel like maybe they've even been this way their whole life. And we've talked about this too in another podcast. These tend to blend around, but if I look in the mirror, I don't really feel like I'm any different than I was yesterday, but I'm a lot different than I was yesterday.
Right. So, well, yeah, and that's, we do lose sight of that as people and as athletes. I'm working with an athlete now that he doesn't really have an athletic background, so he has no preconceived notions. But the cool part about him is he's like restriction free. He doesn't have anything to judge himself on. He can't say, "Man, 2 years ago I ran this half at this speed." He says, "Well, shit, every time that I do something, it's a PR." That's a good place to be in, but I think that's a mentality as well. I think it's a very freeing thing, and it's he anticipates succeeding, whereas other people anticipate not succeeding based on something. And it's funny because as I talk through it, it's like the only time people want to remember where they were is when they're anticipating failure.
Absolutely.
Like they only do that when they're putting themselves in a box and judging themselves. When they are steadily succeeding time over time over time. I mean, I wish, and I'm going to have to put this together, but the amount of PRs that the Mind Right family has had this year is mind-boggling. There was one guy that he PR'd his 5K, his 10K, his half in 3 back-to-back races within 6 weeks, and they were all ran back and forth over a freaking bridge. Like, he PR'd those. And so for that athlete, he keeps moving forward because, hey, I'm just racking up the success. So he forgets, man, I was here not long ago. Whereas this other athlete, he has nothing to look back and judge himself on. And I think that's a big thing is I think you can't talk about succeeding and failing without talking about self-judgment and self-reflection or whatever the word is, but that kind of inner looking of, holy shit, I am better today than I was yesterday.
It's introspection of sorts.
Introspection. There we go. That's one of those college words. I can't even spell it right to Google it. Google it just says, "What the fuck?"
It says, "I don't get this." But yeah, when athletes should monitor to some level where they've come from, I think on a monthly basis, look back at your log. I mean, you should have a day that you just look back at your log and you see where you've been and become appreciative of the effort you put in. Not that it's a reason for you to not train hard or give it everything you have, but just a reflection to say, you know what, I didn't do this well, 6 months ago. I didn't do this well a year ago.
What a year. That's, we're coming to the end of the year. Now it's time we're going to recap the year, and we're going to look forward to next year. This is one of my favorite times of year because you get to plan, you get to set goals.
Yep.
It's really fun because it's like a kid anticipating an event, like Christmas coming up.
Sure.
Okay. Man, in 6 months, I'm going to go do this race, and here's what I want to do with this race. And a kid writes that letter to Santa, a month ago, right? And says, "Oh, Christmas is coming in 30 days. This is what I want." Woo! We're excited. So it's an exciting time of year, but it's something that this year I'm really, and I didn't do it as well last year, really going to work on each athlete. We're going to have a year-end recap, and we're going to say, who were you at the beginning of 2015? Who are you now? Who do you want to become?
Sure.
And along that way, you identify the successes. You identify the opportunities, and you plan for the opportunities and successes of the future.
Yeah, I mean, take a piece of paper and put 12 boxes on it, and put your average times for that month, and see them progress. You can even see them regress. I mean, you can see them go down, and you can look at yourself and go, well, July wasn't a very good month for me. I really didn't put much effort into it, and what you put in it, you're going to get back.
And this is an investment sport, brother. Investment.
It is. You give 80, you're going to get 80. You give 100, you're going to give 100. And just because, you give it all you have. And the thing about it is, especially as we wrap up this success thing, the key to it is if you tie yourself, it's better for you to tie your successes to your performance than it is to tie yourself to that of an outcome. In a position, a podium, or something along those lines, because you cannot validate. You can't dictate, prove, or anything else who's going to show up at the race. You can't.
Whether it's going to rain.
Yeah, you have a bike accident. You know, people, breaking your hip on a bike wreck. Next thing you know, you lose that. Obviously, you're not going to be able to complete that, and you're going to be out for a long time. Or you have a small bike crash. It still takes time off your your total time for that event. So there are so many things, whether it's transition, finding your bag, dropping food, having flat tires. There's so many opportunities to have challenges in a competition that if you base it on the outcome, if I were to coach someone, I'd say, yeah, you're right. You wanted to be able to achieve Kona this year, but you got to recognize that three races, the first race, you had 4 flat tires.
Or you had bad nutrition. It was early in the year. You have bad nutrition.
Or you could say, look, you ran the best of your life. You PR'd every single thing, and we still haven't met that ultimate goal of yours.
Right.
But you continue to PR, and I don't know how you can be a failure if you continue to PR. So, you just got to continue to go and go and go until you get there.
You say that, and it got me thinking that, and one thing I probably need to work on as a coach, I know I need to work on as a coach, is helping athletes celebrate weekly and monthly successes. And when I say celebrate, the exact same way, and this is something this comes to me, and I, like you, I'm always learning, and you just brought this to me in my head, and it's I need to do better as a coach. Myself and athletes need to do better with appreciating their small successes, because I'm steadily looking at Ironman Texas. I want to do X, Y, and Z. But what I don't do is I don't reward myself or celebrate or pat myself on the back when I put together, let's just say, a week of solid workouts. High five. All right, next week, let's go. Because what happens is I too am staring at that big picture goal. I know to back off and trust and roll with the process goals, but I personally need benchmarks along the way. And I think that if I start celebrating my smaller successes, then that will kind of put that bigger success out of my mind, which removes anxiety, which removes stress if missed workouts. But I know as a coach, I need to be better about more celebration on the small things.
I think it's important. We have worked with several athletes together, a lot of athletes together, but many of them, I've asked them just do something really simple. Wherever you train, take your poster board and put at the top what you could even write something like "I am a champion," which is something I use quite a lot. Yeah. I am a champion. And below that, write write how much you've ridden in the last month, last 6 months, last year, how much you've swam, how much you've trained, and think about all that effort you've put into that. And that doesn't go for nothing. I mean, that helps deliver you to a place that you want to be, but you have to make sure those are in alignment. Obviously, you can't just, pedal at, and almost in neutral and expect to get anything out of that. I mean, you got to work. This is, as you said, it's, you get what you put into it, but having that filled out, it's mind boggling. In fact, it's somewhat even emotional for some people. They look back and they start crying because they didn't realize that they rode 1,750 miles. I fear that I'm going to fail in the swim. I'm not going to be able to swim. Right. Well, wait a minute. If you had written down and acknowledged to yourself, and that's the kicker, acknowledgement. It's easy to remember that you did this, but you need to write it down. You got to write it down that says, swam 2.4 miles today. So that when you get to the race and you're like, I don't think I could run. I don't think I could swim 2.4. Wait. But you just wrote it here.
Right.
2 weeks ago that you swam 2.4 miles in one of your training sessions. So can you really not swim 2.4 miles? And you'll find that fear piece is irrational. You're like, oh, well.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. I did do that, didn't I? Yeah. Did you survive? Yeah. So you did get out of the water. I mean, you're sitting here with me, right?
So my reply is, shut up and go do it.
Well, it's like, just relax. Do what you do every day.
Right.
Don't worry about the outcome. Just go do what you do. And then, of course, then you shift over, as we probably should do, and that's getting into more of the failure. And to me, failure really just I don't want to feel like
Opportunity.
I don't want to fail at anything.
Right.
But at the same time, I got to be willing to put forth the effort because, we oftentimes have these desires, these dreams to want to do things, but they're whims. They're just out in the middle of nowhere. I'll just do this. And then you quit. Well, you didn't truly fail at that point, but that's kind of how I push failure way out of the range to ensure that you have opportunity. Whether you neglect to do something, that's what, if I look at fail, it says neglect to do something. The something to me is the
Pretty
work.
Pretty cut and dry.
Yeah.
Right?
It's neglect to do something as if I want to be a triathlete, but I don't want to bike. I just don't want to practice.
Right.
It's going to cause you to quit eventually. You're going to quit. And
the thing is with that is that we overlook the opportunities along the way that we have that could prevent that feeling of failure, or that perception of failure. We overlook the missed chances to follow that process along the way. And I think that sometimes we do stare so much at whatever that goal is, that outcome goal, that along the way we create a shit ton of opportunity.
Yep.
But we don't really see it as such, because that is the tough thing with the sport. And that's why it's such a mental sport, is because, man, I mean, if I told you, Craig, right now, Craig, I need you to give me $20,000 and in 40 years, you'll make $1 billion. That's tough to do. It's hard. It's hard to project that far ahead and say, okay, it's going to work, because you're like, well, shit, $20,000, man, that's a lot of money right now. And that's like saying, hey, I need you to give me 12 hours a week. You want to go 10 hours in Ironman? I need 20 hours a week right now. Well, man, I don't know.
Right.
And that's what happens. I think it's so it makes it such a tough sport, because it is hard to appreciate that process along the way and those opportunities that are created.
No, it definitely is. I think that's a valid point. Yeah. The thing is, if you want it, put forth the effort. If you don't, then that's okay too. Not everybody wants to be a triathlete. Not everyone wants to be a director. Not everybody wants to own their own business, and that's fine too. But I have a real hard problem telling my athletes, go out there and fail. Go out there and fail. No. You never have to cross that line. And it's not that it's a bad word. It is a bad word because society has driven it with such negativity. I
think it's the energy that comes with it.
It's not the word.
It's like the gateway drug, essentially. Yeah. It's the gateway to other negative things boiling up.
Yeah. When have you ever said someone's a failure and they took it like, hey, great, hey, I succeeded at failing.
Right.
God, no. And it's a belief. And that's the thing about it, because our beliefs are so concrete. We always want our beliefs to be right. And we always want our assumptions, our beliefs, to be correct as well. So I'm not going to do well in this. You're right. You just proved it. And you're going to do well.
Right.
And then at the end, you're going to be like, I knew it. I knew. And we do this with people all the time. I bet they're going to fail. I bet they're not going to do well. And they do. And you're like, see, I told you. I could have told you. UK was going to lose the other day.
It's house money. It's the safe bet. That's like betting on a horse in a Kentucky Derby that has 2-to-1 odds.
Yep.
It's a safe bet.
Yep.
Throw a little money out there on that long shot.
That's why you're not going to get much out of it. You're if you talk about Derby or talk about that's fine. Your odds of it's the accomplishment. Would you rather go a 2-to-1 odd? Or what about me? I want the 50-to-1. I want the opportunity. I just want the chance.
That sliver of hope.
The chance.
However, the thing is, though, is that you and I are both, I would say, risk takers, personality-wise.
Yes.
To an extent. And so for some people, that's hard to understand. It's like, whoa. Yep. And that's the way Kendall is. Kendall is very safe, very cautious. And that's something that I've had to work with her on too, is the investment will be worth it, but you have to make the investment. And that's in the sport. It will be worth it, but you have to do it. She had a little bit of a shin issue from doing the whip and nene. She actually got a true story. She got we should actually play that song right there just because, but She got a little bit of a shin issue, and I told her, I said, look, 6 weeks. Don't do shit for 6 weeks. Don't run for 6 weeks. Well, she's that very safe, construct person. And so for some people, I'm not sitting here telling you, oh, it's easy, just throw caution to the wind, just go create your own success. It's tough for some people.
Yep.
For me, I want to jump out of the plane. Parachute opens, okay, cool, sweet, I win. If it doesn't, shit, Yep. But I understand that it is tough, but it is something to where you have to ante up to play. You have to be willing to put the money in the pot and create that opportunity. Yeah. Go out there, take a shot, see what happens, prepare yourself the best you possibly can, but see what happens. You're either going to succeed or you're going to create an opportunity.
Well, sure. If you want average, keep doing that. Do your 2-to-1 odds. You're going to get average. But who really wants average? But the thing is again, that kind of falls back into the compete or complete state. You're going to set yourself up really bad if you want to compete, but yet you're giving the complete level of work. And so, that failure piece of, I'm not going to succeed. Well, you wanted Kona, but you put 8 hours in a week. You're not going to succeed that goal. You're not going to fail because you're probably going to do the race. Right. But you're not going to get that time that you want because you're not willing to put forth the effort, and that's a goal-setting issue. Yeah. Well, yeah, but that's okay. That is right. That's more of a coaching issue because your coach has allotted you an opportunity to do something and has not stopped you. You don't want to go all the way. You don't want to come from Kentucky and go all the way to Texas and realize you missed Florida. You know what I'm saying? Right. If you start going too far east and you're trying to get to California from Kentucky, at some point your coach has got to say, stop. What are we doing here? And why is it that your output is not matching the direction in which you tell me you want to go? Now, I'm not here to tell you where you need to go, but I'm here to be a realist and I'm here to hold you accountable. If this is really where you want to go, what are you willing to do? Because what you're doing right now is not going to get you there.
Right.
And so the avoidance of that situation, and I don't like to use that word much, but that is to stop it in its tracks and not just wait till you get there to arrive and go, oh shit, this didn't go well. Yeah. And then there's those that are personally coached and some do really well and many people don't. You have to me anyway, I think the simplest piece, especially between the success and failure, is understanding the words and understanding that your coach needs to be on board with that comprehension. Failure should not be something that you speak of as a coach. Right. And like I said, I love Tony Robbins. I love Les Brown. I love E.T. I love all those big guys that speak crazy inspiration. They do. Oh man, I love listening to them. But I cringe when I hear failure because it drives a stake in opportunity for society to me.
Right.
It will shut, and there are those people that go, oh, I failed. I'm going to prove this to you. You're not going to do it to me again.
Right.
And then there's others that go, as we talked about in some of the other podcasts, I've never been successful at anything.
Again, here we go.
I'm going to go back to the couch and just drink my coffee and Right. And that's fine. If that's what you want to do, nothing I can do about that. But don't short yourself by holding success at such a high level that you can never achieve it, and then putting failure right there at your opportunity. It's almost like they said, here's success way out here, but here's failure. It's just I'm always on the verge of failing, always, right. And it's right there. But success, no, wait, that's way up there. Maybe your success,
long way away.
Yeah, right. So set those goals, and as you said earlier, when you're wanting to achieve Kona, make sure you're putting forth the effort. Make sure that you're putting what it takes to get to Kona. Not everybody gets to Kona, and there's a flipping reason for it.
Yep, and let's take that one step further, I think, and say, if that's your goal, whatever your goal is, be sure that your support structure is aligned with that.
Absolutely. Because
you can do every single thing right along the way, and guess what? You may not get there. It's very possible if you don't have, and you look at, we'll use the example of professional, like basketball players. They come up through high school because we're both, kind of basketball nerds. They come up through the ranks in high school, freshmen, go straight to the NBA. They have got a shit support structure around. What happens? A la Antoine Walker, right? go broke quick, fast, in a hurry. You have you don't have you attain whatever it is that you're after, but you're not there long, and you don't set yourself up for longevity with that success. And I think one of the hardest things is tasting that success, but never quite being able to get back to that point. I think that's something that may be a whole different mental podcast we can do, because sometimes it goes along with kind of the not expecting success. You get there and you're like, oh shit, what now?
Right.
And so we don't get back there. And man, I think that can be a big downtrend. It's a whole different topic, but
I think it's a whole preparation deal. It really is.
Yeah, I would agree.
You have to prepare for the success in the sense that you got to know what's next.
Right.
The number one thing for goal setting is have another plan. Have another one. Don't just stop at one, because you're gonna get emotionally distraught. Go ahead and have 3 or 4 or 5. Have big goals. I mean, and I don't say that as butterflies and prettiness. Have a big ass goal, something that is just going to take everything out of you to obtain it, but you want it so bad. And that's the key too, is having a why for it, knowing why you want it. And if it's for fame, it's not going to work. You have to have, it's got to be in here. You got to want it so bad inside.
Your heart's on the other side.
Yes.
You're in your right lung.
That's right. I get, you're reversed. I'm like, in this area, your heart.
Right.
But your heart has to be in it. You have to want it for much more than the fame, the money, and most pros will probably tell you there's not a ton of money in it. And what you want to be able to do is say, I did this because I wanted to show my children that, when you have certain things, or when you have opportunities in your life, or some people call them obstacles and barriers. Yeah, you seize those and you prove that I can do anything I want to do as long as I'm willing to put forth the effort. And that's the kicker. Everybody wants to do everything. They just want to, Ronnie Coleman. I don't know if you know Ronnie Coleman is a huge bodybuilder, really big guy. And he goes, everybody wants to lift weights, but everybody wants to get big, but no one wants to lift no weights. So it's, I want to be big, but I don't want to do the work.
Right. Well, that's, everybody wants to be a lion until it comes time to do lion shit. Right.
You got to do what lions do. And, sometimes that's take out animals and whatever else it is. I mean, I don't, obviously in this day and age, we don't do that. Back a couple hundred years ago, that probably been okay. But,
nowadays, not so much.
No. So I guess in wrapping this up.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, in wrapping this up, understand that success is dependent upon you. Success is something that you need to know very well, very clear, and very defined as to what you want success to be. And then you need to make sure that is announced to everyone around you, because your level of success and your friend's level of success for you and your family and your wife, your husband, your children, they may be completely different. So to me, I say, tell people what you're wanting to do, where you're wanting to go, and then make sure that you do everything in your power every single day to your ability. What am I thinking about doing? And is that going to impact or interfere with my competition, with my expectation to achieve that goal?
Right.
And as long as I am making progress, as long as I am not stopping, then failure really doesn't exist.
A relentless pursuit of success.
Well, failure to me is negligent. It's almost it's quitting yourself of sorts. It's literally being negligent with the opportunity, the potential that the body has to do dang near anything. There really isn't any outliers in this world. There are people that are willing to put forth the effort, and there are people that are not. And the difference between those people is they didn't take no.
Okay.
They didn't take
no is encouragement.
Yeah. No, they're like, yeah. And that's why, if you listen to Les Brown, he'll talk about that. He'll say the biggest thing for him and for a lot of people is they did door-to-door sales, because you're going to hear no every single day. But you're just going to wait. The next one's going to be a yes. The next one's going to be yes. And what that does, that drives you to continuously push through, because it's not the easy times when it's the week of Christmas, and say you're training. It's the week of Christmas and you go, yeah, I really just like to take a little time off and be with the family. Yep. Goal. Is that really what you made the goal, not me.
Right.
And so if you're willing to give up on something to achieve the goal, it is going to have an impact at the end. It's like taking money out of the bank. You're going to do a couple of, you're always depositing money with your effort. And then you take a couple, you don't give in Don't give it everything you have. So you pull some out. You pull a little bit more out. You pull a little bit more out. You pull a little bit more out. And as soon as you start,
you go buy that new car,
it ain't there.
$500 short.
Ain't there.
Yeah.
But hopefully that kind of helps those listening understand that failure does it. Believe it. Make it a belief. Put it on your mirror. Read it to yourself every single day. Failure does not exist unless I quit.
Yep.
Unless I am negligent. And I say negligent because no matter where you are, no matter if you're in a wheelchair, I mean, there's opportunity for you.
Absolutely.
There's nothing that says, I can't remember the guy's name. He's like a little bitty 1 foot. He has no legs, no arms, and he's the most inspirational dude I've heard of. And he's like
a professional bass angler. That is no shit.
Really?
I'm dead serious. Serious. I met him.
Phenomenal, isn't he?
Dude,
what is his name?
He can freaking cast and catch his fish on his own with his chin.
Foot. Oh, with his chin? Yeah. There's literally, and this isn't trying to be completely inspirational, but there is nothing you can't do except the fact that your mind is telling you that you shouldn't do it. And if you can overcome that obstacle and make it an opportunity, there's nothing you can't do. And the fact is
okay.
Go ahead. What?
I was just going to say, Clay Dyer is his name. Look him up. I swear.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. But you cannot do things in this world, and I truly believe this too, on your own. You can't, and I want you to prove me wrong. I do really. But generally speaking, you need people to help you. Wherever you've gotten in life, someone has helped you get there. Right. Whether it was a friend, whether it was having a conversation with a pal about how you kind of felt down and they brought you back up, or your family members or someone somewhere. So make sure to, especially if you have a really big goal, you want to do Kona. It's a group deal. Have your friends involved, your family involved, help keep you motivated and keep you driven, and keep you focused. Because if you got a party, if you got a bunch of friends that are partiers and you're wanting to be competitive, want to be a competitor in the Ironman, and you actually want to find your way to Kona, that partying group of 5 may not be the best thing for you for that goal.
Right.
And so it's gonna hold you back from succeeding as soon as you would like. It doesn't mean that you won't still succeed, but you're gonna have to learn a couple things before you figure out that they probably should. We should probably cease to do that type of activity. You might think you can do it, but in the end of the day, it's going to take its toll on you.
Right.
But otherwise, have an understanding of success. Understand that failure doesn't exist unless you make it. And in doing so, you can release yourself from the anxieties of it. If I didn't meet my target, I got to look back at my information, my analytics, find out what I didn't do well, and I got to work back on it again. Re-aim, yep, and then shoot, and then do it again. Yep. Have multiple goals for Kona, I think, and that may be something different than you coach. I don't know. I didn't really even ask that, but have multiple. I know you have your A, B, and your C race, but why can't they all be have an opportunity for you to maybe succeed at that goal that you wanted to?
Right. Well, success is defined a little bit differently when you talk about A, B, and C races. But I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah. So I mean, you never know. I mean, maybe they'll kill it and whatever. Yeah. So that's got it for me. Anything for you?
That's it. It's a great chat. I think it was a much needed topic to be discussed.
Absolutely.
And we covered it, probably about an hour on this one. And
we're at like 58 minutes.
Yeah. So I think it's a
longer one.
It's a good in-depth, but I mean, that's a topic you can't just kind of skirt around. Like, you really need to dive into the trenches like we did.
Well, and I'm mental coaching is so important, because there's things like that keep you on a much more positive course. Right. If you get the negative mindset because you don't understand successes and failures and how you verbalize them, when you verbalize them, what they do to your body, when you puke them out, or when you write down things that talk about you being a failure or you did not succeed, it's more about yet. If you did not succeed, it's because you haven't done it yet. Right. It doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that you haven't done it yet.
Very good.
So anyway, if you want to get a hold of Jeremy and I, performanceondemandpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to get over, if you want to get a hold of Jeremy over there at mindrightmultisport.com or me at u-discover.com, I'd love to work with you, talk to you. If you have any questions relating to success or failure, please get a hold of me. I'd love to have that conversation.
Any feedback? If
feedback
if you want
on
a debate, question, comment,
absolutely.
Any feedback.
I love it. Matter of fact, if someone has a strong belief about failure, by golly, let's get on there and let's just chat about it. Let's have a good time, drink a beer, and we'll see what we can figure out. And I'm not saying my way is the way. What I'm saying is that my way will keep you from having those negative feelings that could keep you from succeeding and being your best you, really. And that's what my job is.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, that wraps it up.
That's it.
Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Later.